there has been a large yet subtle transition from what we believe our countries stand for, how they're governed and ruled, and how the rights of the citizens are respected, to what is in reality an invisible oligarchy, in place due to the illusions we have been duped into believing, marketing to us every day about how great things are, how great the system works, and how there's no need to change anything major. For the creators of this system, it means our perpetual ignorance and their perpetual profit and control.
Even our law system, the traditional mechanism of solving disputes, has been usurped and replaced from what it used to be, with nary so much as a whimper or complaint.
The people and families who have dominated the major industries of finance, steel, oil, and other darker pursuits, like drugs and slavery, seek to gain control over all humanity through their cartel capitalism ideology, wherein corporate interests, beholden to a central currency influence, control all political process, the creation of acts and statutes, and enforcement against the people. The financing and planning of these centralized continental unions, like the European Union, North American Union, African and Pan-Asian unions, and the single currencies planned for each, are just steps forward in a centuries-old plan to bring about a world government. These interests have had total control of our currency system for almost 100 years, and are essentially using our energy and our labor to not only profit for themselves, but to further fund and contribute to their plans, and our further enslavement. It's important to gain a succinct analysis of the multi-tendrilled beast our system has become, as well as the various facets of control used by these elite families, including the military and drug wars. It is also imperative to note how the money system has taken root in the last 100 years, and delve with great detail into the motivations and structures of financial leveraging that have been used to build up this illusory glass prison of credit and debt around humanity. Until we break out of our trapped understanding of how money works and how it is actually created, we will be slaves to the bankers, even with an invisible yoke. The solutions will come from our understanding and the positive choices we make when voting with our dollars. Plus, understanding how the creation of money is used in today's society to trick us into giving up more energy than we receive in exchange. To further your understanding of how money works and learn about the history of money, visit thecauseofeffect.com for further information and connect yourself to solutions. You can find solutions in your awareness, and by providing awareness to others about how currency and monetary scams are used by central banks, and also by researching the subjects of money creation, currency printing, national debts, central banks, tax-exempt foundations, the Federal Reserve System, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank.
The individual's handicap by coming face to face with a conspiracy so monstrous he can't believe it exists.
The law is whatever the powers that be in power happen to say it is today. Whatever they say it is, that's what the law is today. And it may change tomorrow.
As people started to live together in societies, there was nothing to prevent individuals from infringing upon the rights and freedoms of each other. Once that happened, there were only two choices: either protect ourselves or elect a group of individuals to protect our rights for us. We chose the latter, and thus law was born to protect our rights and freedoms.
We have no law in America. And understand that. There's a Roman maximum in law that says, "For he that would be deceived, let him." Simply meaning, if you are so ignorant as to be deceived, then that's your business, that's your problem. So you need to do your homework and find out what the words mean, especially in relation to law and government. Because there is a world of occultism that is operating today throughout the world, in which you use certain words, and when those words are used in a court, they don't mean the same thing at all.
Jordan Maxwell speaks about words. Words are definitely his forte. He also speaks about where words come from.
Understanding law and the words of law, there are two things that this planet has: water and earth, water and land. Consequently, there are two kinds of law: the law of the land and the law of water. You've heard the term law of the land, but in point of fact, that's precisely what this word means, law of the land, because it is the people who live on land. And that is opposed to something else called the law of the high seas, or the law of water. You need to understand the difference. The law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on the land. And so consequently, the law of the land is different in every country. You can do things in America you can't do in Russia. You can do things in Africa you can't do in England. So the law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on that particular land. However, there is a higher law that dominates the entire world. It's called the law of the water, or the law of the high seas. The law of water is referred to as the law of money. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, or where you live. Money is money. And anytime you're doing banking or using money, you are now under the law of water, maritime admiralty.
In the film, The Occult World of Commerce, Jordan Maxwell and Jason Whitney give a great overview explaining in depth the important differences between the two law systems, how they were merged, and how this affects how we live today. Countries' laws end at the borders of their land. It's also known as common law, the law of the common people. A proper English common law was originally based on the 10 Commandments section of the Old Testament of the Christian Bible, but it's also considered to be common sense law. The common law that's developed over time has but one purpose. That sole purpose is to protect our fundamental rights and freedoms of life, liberty, and property. The purpose of law was never to restrict or destroy our rights and freedoms. Its sole purpose, then and now, is for the preservation and protection of these gifts.
There are two different kinds of law. There is civil law, which is the law of the land, and there is UCC, which is maritime law. UCC stands for Uniformed Commercial Code, which was created thousands of years ago by the Phoenician Canaanites.
Marine law, or the law of water, is the law of money, or currency. It is the law that governs all money in the world, and is the same type of law in every country with a central bank. It is also known as commercial law, covering all forms of commerce. You may not have heard of the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC, but it is the foundation of how all modern financial transactions are handled, and while very complex, understanding it gives a great insight as to how the banking game is played.
The entities who created this system understood that they could not control you, the flesh and blood you, but if they turned you into a corporation under the UCC law, then they would effectively be able to have that control.
Because the government created a situation when we're in perpetual debt, but that is unlawful. So they also gave us a remedy, a solution to fix it, but they hid it from us.
Whenever we're dealing in a business, then all countries and all corporations work under UCC.